Welcome one, welcome all. This is the Brokerhood, and I am your host, Jared. I'm the Director of Business Development here at BAI. And man, we have a rock star interview for you today. We have a broker who has just been with BAI for a little while. We're going to dive into his story, but he has just been crushing it recently, and so excited to just bring him in and unpack his story. And we're going to talk through some of the ups and downs. We're going to talk through some of the things that he's had to change, some of the things he's had to adjust, some of the things he's learned, and some of the things he's doing now that has all led to his recent success, 120K in 1 month. Yes, this is very, very possible. We're seeing it regularly with a lot of our brokers. So this is going to be a good one. Make sure you're dropping your comments in the chat, whether you're joining us from LinkedIn, or you're in another location, you're seeing this later, even drop your comments in the chat and we will get started. If you're curious at all about learning more about brokering and starting your own franchise consulting business, we'll make sure we throw some links in the chats as well. And you can click on that and just kind of begin discovery there. But man, this is going to be a good one. I'm excited to welcome in the one and only Joseph Abro. So let's get started. This is the Brokerhood. Joe, you made it, man. Welcome to the Brokerhood.
What's going on, guys? How you doing, Jared?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm doing well. It's good to see you. Where are you joining us from?
So I'm actually in Michigan, in Metro Detroit, actually at the Renaissance Center, the GM building.
Really?
If you're reading a little bit about Detroit news, they're actually talking about tearing this tower down, which is it's a historic, nice, beautiful building.
Why?
But it's a lot of office space, and you know how it is these days with offices. But yeah.
So is that where you're from originally? Does that mean you're
born and raised
Detroit
in
Tigers, Detroit Lions, all of it?
All the way, baby. I was watching every game when they were 0-16. I did not miss anything.
Yeah. How unfortunate. Skull Vikings all the way. Drop in the chat your favorite football team, or if you're a Tigers fan or Lions fan, let Joe hear the love.
Look at those Tigers.
Or what's the basketball team? Pistons. That's who I'm missing.
Yes.
Show the love there. Show the love there. But Joe, seriously, welcome. Thanks for doing this, my friend. I'm excited to really spend some time with you and hear your story and kind of what led to this recent success and talk about your business as a whole and to learn from you. So let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing before franchise consulting, or have you just always been in franchise consulting?
Well, how much time we got, Jared? The entrepreneurial roller coaster is real.
Yeah.
I guess, one of the first things that led me into entrepreneurship was a franchise. It was actually a local Michigan pizza franchise. And I saw it as an opportunity. It was a store that was doing really poorly in sales. It was actually getting ready to shut down. It was a franchise that had a really good product, but didn't really have it put together well. I think on the corporate side, not as advanced as some of the other brands out there.
Right.
And it was a fun ride. I actually was able to get in there, quadruple sales, made some nice money, sold it for a nice profit, and then had an opportunity to jump into a different pizza franchise called Domino's. And that back in 2009, they were going through some struggle as well. They were not the number one pizza chain in the world like they are now. And there was actually a lot of stores shutting down here in Michigan. So there was opportunity there.
Okay.
And, it was then that it was like beyond the pie, making the perfect pie, which I feel like, 12 years removed or whatever, I can get on the make line right now and make you a perfect pie.
Yeah.
I really saw, hey, how are these guys running 30 stores? How are these guys doing?
Right.
What are they doing?
It's a different level of
of
skill set
business that I understood at that point, being with that company. So I really all the different departments between marketing technology. I mean, there's a reason why, they revived the way they did. And I got to see that as well. And that was pretty cool. But the situation that I was in, I knew it wasn't going to be a forever thing. I didn't want to, it was one of those things. We had a bunch of stores. And at one point I was basically sleeping in my uniform. Those were the hours when you're when you're in there. But I stumbled across an opportunity 10 or 11 years ago, and I saw an opportunity to kind of escape the grind a little bit and get into franchise brokering and consulting, And I did it back then I said, you know what, this is, it sounds cool. It sounds like something I can, get into, but I was a little hesitant, but I dove in, and I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. And I went through a phase where it was kind of there by title, but I wasn't doing much with it for a while until more recently, when I call myself the born again consultant. And
born again consultant, I love it.
So many investments in between there, and kind of came back to here. So
you're an entrepreneur. And so you've built a life and career of many things, right? But I envision, when you say, you feel like you weren't very good at it or whatever, I feel like, but your experience in franchise ownership has had to have helped or played a significant role in what you're doing as a consultant, correct?
Most definitely. The experience is everything. You could be really good at sales, or you can be really passionate about something. For me, I'm really passionate about this, and I really got to see, why franchising is so cool and what the benefits are, and that's what led me to kind of want to be a franchise consultant and broker, is to show people, hey, that there is a different way to run a business. And you're in business for yourself, not by yourself. There are some pros and cons, and there are some good, bad, and ugly franchises, which I've learned over the years too. As far as being it, I guess the fear was in the beginning was sales. Like, this is a sales thing, like that's not for me. But you know what? I wanted to more or less, instead of kind of sell, I just wanted to tell people, like, hey, there's different ways and there's different opportunities out there. So I wasn't really truly marketing and doing things that I'm doing today. I learned a lot over time about lead generation. So when I stepped away from the pizza business, did some things with my wife. We had a life insurance agency, did pretty well before we sold that. We had some agents, and kind of the way we were doing things with lead generation, we were running ads. We were, getting them pre-qualified. We were sending live transfers to our agents. So we had a cool system, and learned a lot about sales and lead gen through that, And, in that time, and then right around 2020, we got into an investment that I dove into a franchise kind of head first. And this is where it kind of started going downhill a little bit. And
in 2020, so the whole world was kind of going downhill at this point.
Exactly. And I got into a brand, and I'm not going to get into too much detail, but a lot of promises, and I didn't do my due diligence enough. Brought in other investors, didn't work out as planned. But instead of pushing me down and saying I'm never doing this again, because it did do that to me for a while. I said, you know what, maybe franchising is not it. I said, no, it's not that. I made a poor decision. I owned it, and I made it the rebound that I needed, and that's why I used that as fuel. Whereas before I was like, you know what, I don't think I made the right choice, or maybe I had just dumped a bunch of money into an investment that didn't pan out.
So is that what led you to get back into franchise consulting then, where you're like, I'm done with this, I'm going to focus on franchise consulting?
I stopped for a while, and I was doing some deals. Actually, prior to this 100K month, I had a month where I did 90K. I did a month where I had 40, 50K, and that was, I don't want to say not trying, but that was, I wasn't pushing it like I should have been.
Sure. So you're saying, imagine what it could have been had you been investing in it.
Exactly. So I guess I really got a chip on my shoulder when I kind of saw things kind of tumbling between that, not just that happening in the franchise world and in the business world, my wife actually around that time actually came down with breast cancer that same
Oh,
period.
really? Wow.
So all things came crashing down around the same time, and I saw the lows, the entrepreneurial low, in real life, and it gave me a chip, and I kind of looked myself in the mirror and said, what are we going to do here? Are we're going to crumble? Are we going to get back up? And I got right back up. What are we good at? We're not going to go wide anymore. We're going to go deep, and that's the way to get the best ROI, right?
Wow, yeah.
Instead of spreading out so thin,
yeah.
You got to just focus and, really dive in there. And over time, that's kind of what happened. That was the maturity, right? That was, getting into, the level where, it started going like this, and then you saw it go like this, and
right.
How are you going to get back up? What are you going to do? And you're going to mature. You're going to fall back into the same trap. And
you learn a lot about yourself in those low valley moments, right? You learn a lot about your character as an individual. What kind of person are you when you feel like this is one of the lowest parts of life?
I definitely felt defeated. You know what I mean? And
well, you've been through so much, and as a franchise consultant now, you have seen both really successful franchise ownership personally through, Domino's experience and some other things. And you've seen the opposite, the reverse of that, the cost, both financially and emotionally and time-wise, of not doing your due diligence and getting connected with a franchise system that wasn't the right fit or just wasn't a good system. And you've seen both sides of it. And so
I think that's why I get to connect with people so well.
Yeah.
Because I'm very real with people, and they feel the passion. I might not even have the best sales technique. Some gurus might say, that's the wrong thing to do.
Well, that's the thing about, tell me about that.
It's all about relationships at the end of the day. I don't think there's a certain technique to sell. I don't look to sell. I actually, to be honest with you, Jared, a lot of times, a lot of people I talk to, franchising isn't for everybody. That's true also. It's not, you could tell. I mean, sometimes you talk to people and they, would that person fit under, rules and systems and, all the structure that they need to, or do they kind of want to do their own thing? When they start talking about this, I don't know. So you just got to gauge that as well.
Yeah. So tell me more about your approach then, and how it helped lead to this 120K month. So it's what I'm hearing, right, is that this really isn't like when people think of sales and all the things that come to mind, franchise consulting isn't really that, right? It's, if anything, it's maybe a consultative sales approach, but even then, I think oftentimes the connotations that come with sales, the negative connotations, often I've found are not helpful here. Tell me more about your approach in that then.
Absolutely. Yeah. So at the end of the day, the approach is you got to be consistent with whatever you do. But to backtrack just a little, I mean, after everything happened 2020, and I told you, things started falling apart, and I had to look at myself. I actually did pretty well by starting a lead generation and digital marketing agency.
Okay.
So you
started your own agency.
Yes. So I used my skills and to do that. And at some point I said, you know what? I know I had this taste about a bad investment that I made, but I know I would do really well with promoting franchising again.
Yeah.
I never really went to the digital world as well, and all these cool things with AI these days. I said, I reached out to Gina back in November last year. I said, Gina, I want to come back. She's always been as welcoming as can be, by the way. Gina, the whole staff.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Gina, for those of you listening or unsure, Gina is the president of BAI.
Gina Johnson. Yeah. So I reached out to Gina Johnson and I said, I want to come back on board and I want to do this again. And I have a chip on my shoulder, and I think I'm going to do something this year, and I hope to make at least six figures. Yeah. In here, and that's kind of the start. And then I went in, and my approach was, I'm going to narrow in, and I'm going to, again, before I used to study like 200 different franchises that we work with and try to get a feel for all of them. And, it's tough to dive in like that. So I narrowed in on, home services, under 250K, I kind of narrowed in and I found
Yeah.
some brands, and I went with somebody that was giving a candidate incentive as well. So they were giving candidates incentives because they wanted new franchisees coming in.
Sure.
So I worked with them and I marketed for that specific company, and I did a few others as well, right? And I would get leads trickling in, and I at the end of the day, it wasn't easy to get it, but it definitely took some work, and it's a cool thing because now there's a lot in the pipeline too, and you just gotta keep going. Once you get that.
Yeah. Are you still, so do you generate leads then from your own platform that you developed, or how do you have an eclectic range of lead generation, or how do you, for those listening right now that are curious about franchise brokering and starting that business themselves, the biggest question is lead generation. So what's that look like for you?
There's multiple lead generation tools. You can advertise on Facebook. You can do it organically, or you can run paid ads.
Yeah. Right.
You can, there's a lot of things you can do on LinkedIn, reaching out to folks, kind of zeroing in on the area that you want to target, so if you want to get somebody out in, Houston, and you can do that. There's different business sites. So Biz by Sell, all the other listing sites out there that work very well. Also, people are always.
So, are you personally? Do you feel like you have a pretty broad range? Then, are you using out all those outlets, or have you found you kind of zero in or focus in on one or two of those, or what it was look like for you?
I'm still going to be playing around a little bit more this year until I zero in. But I like doing a little bit of each. To be honest with you, I really like LinkedIn and Biz by Sell. I like those two.
Yeah, well, I think that's good to hear. Someone who's got so much experience in franchising say is I'm still playing around with it, because I think the concept there is that like what's working today isn't going to work forever. What worked 10 years ago may not be working today. Correct. And so it's that, but that's part of business ownership. And so if you're going to own your own franchise consulting business, that's a part of it that you're going to have to recognize that it can't just be on, repeat for decades to come. There's going to be some ownership responsibility there.
I'd say so. I mean, Jared, how many companies stay the same forever, right? Like people, the biggest company, they change their logo, they change their messaging, they change. I mean, you're right. In marketing, things do change. So you got to keep up with the times. And for a while, everybody was on TikTok. I didn't do that, but I know that works well.
You didn't do the dancing, huh?
Not
so much, not so much. Yeah.
No.
So
I'll do it later at night.
yeah, right. So for those watching that are on the fence, that have thought about, franchise consulting, or haven't, but and are interested in making a change, what's one thing you would say you wish you knew before you got started in this?
I said it earlier. I'll say it again. Don't spread yourself too thin.
Yeah.
Try to focus in on and dive deep. I think that if anything, I would say getting in, you might feel a little bit overwhelmed. Okay. And another thing I would add to that is utilize the support. I'm not just saying this, that you guys are awesome. Each and every one of you guys truly care about our success. Obviously, it all goes together, right? But it really is something that I wish I would have taken advantage. Sometimes I talk to Gina or Heath or you, and I'm like, I'm sorry to bother you. Like, you're not bothering us. This is
please, why we're here.
You want to schedule another call? I'm like, thank you. I mean, they're always there. They never ever once made me feel like I'm taking up their time. And sometimes I feel like that. So I'm like, I want to close some deals before I, talk to these guys.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, no, that's so good. What's something then, like, what did you find most helpful about the support that was provided? Is there anything specific that comes to mind for you, or being a part of the BAI network as a whole? What has been one or two things that has helped most impact your business? Is probably the better way to ask that.
So as far as the support, you mean?
Yeah. Or just being a part of the network as a whole. Yeah.
It's kind of like how the saying goes with franchising, you're in business for yourself, not by yourself.
Yeah.
Same thing here. Same thing here. I mean, we're always connected, Everybody cares about each other.
Yeah.
And it really is cool. I mean,
Mm.
I got a chance to go to, Vegas this couple months ago, and that was a good time. That's when I first met you.
For annual conference. Yep.
Our annual conference. Yes. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. Not for pleasure. Well,
Yeah.
maybe a little pleasure.
There was pleasure still involved, but for our annual conference, and that's something that we do here at BI every year annual, right?
That was a good that opened up my eyes a lot too. I mean, I had a lot of momentum prior, but I had way more leaving there.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, what's something that has, since you've dove back into this and you've invested into this, you're going deep into it. What is something that has surprised you about this business of franchise brokering?
You know what? It surprises me sometimes how simple it could be, and then how complex. We think it's just
all at the same time.
Complex. Yeah. But sometimes it's surprising that at the end of the day, what we're doing is not that difficult if you truly care and you're passionate about what you do. And I am. I mean, this is something that, I'm an entrepreneur and I've done everything under the sun, but this will go with me till I get to the grave. And, I love it. This is truly a passion that I enjoy talking to people about it. I really do. Every time, I have conversations, it's always, it's good networking. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of one of the biggest parts about being a part of a network is, I feel like a lot of times franchise brokers, those that really sometimes burn out, often it has less to do with they ran out of money or something. And that happens sometimes, but oftentimes it comes back to a sense of loneliness. There can be a sense of isolation when you're doing this business, and
I'm alone on an island by myself. Nobody understands me.
Exactly. And that's a big part of being part of the network.
There's a lot, so it still kind of surprised me too, I guess. Sometimes you think you're going to do more or make more, and deals fall through at the end of the day, and it's a surprise, but it's not a surprise. It's part of the business. You just the big thing there is to keep your pipeline strong and consistent.
Come on. That's good advice right there. That's good advice. Yeah, keep your pipeline strong. This is a numbers game, right?
It is.
What about any specific habits for you? Are there any habits or tools or any practical things that help you stay organized or help you stay focused in this business?
Mentally and spiritually, my rebound story is all thanks to God.
Come on.
And, I really dove deeper into the faith over the past 5 years. I start my day with either adoration or mass. If I can't make the gym, I'm definitely trying to go to church. And it's one thing that I do, and I mean, this is the most overlooked, I guess. Before I start there, the very first thing I do every morning is I thank God. And the last thing I do, I thank God. Doesn't matter what. I mean, there's a lot of things that we go through throughout our day, throughout our lives. There's a lot of struggles. I get it, but we got to thank God for what we have.
Every day
starts there, and then getting to the gym, kind of putting myself in a routine and a habit, and making sure that leads are coming in, that things are being done. I mean, I love to start. It all starts with the morning routine. And if I miss that, I miss everything.
And I think
that's definitely my habit that gets me going.
That's so good. Thanks for sharing that. I think that mindset too of that kind of a gratitude and thankfulness to the Lord every morning, every evening. I think that also plays itself
even
out
on the bad days.
Right, but I was just going to say on those moments where you were.
Thank you, God. Hey, God, I thank you for giving me this challenge today.
Those moments that you were talking about earlier about being in the low, you've been at those moments. You've experienced the low. And even still, whether you're in the lows or in the highs of the $120,000 a month or beyond, either way, it's a habit, it's a daily ritual, it's a practice, it's a mindset. And so I think that says a lot about who you are too, and really does help yourself through all of those moments to realize every season passes, whether positive or negative, every season passes. Keep moving on. So that's
100%.
really great, man. What's let me ask you one more
There's
question.
always light at the end of the tunnel. Always.
Yeah.
There's always a
Yeah.
lesson to be learned.
Yeah, I did have one question come through talking about lead generation a little bit too. Do you have any practical advice on monthly budget that is spent on lead generation? Is it a percentage for you of what comes in? Is it a monthly set amount, flat amount each month, and you review it annually? How does that work for you?
Well, it started with an annual budget.
Okay.
And I said I'm going to put about 10 to 15K at least this year, minimum, into this, and I hope to 10x that number based on that. So yeah, that was my goal. Great. I know that sounds a little crazy, but it's very doable. You know that. We get paid nice commissions, and I set aside that goal. Now I'm kind of, I don't want to say double or nothing, but I'm adding some chips. Yeah. And definitely looking at other ways to expand, and hopefully over time. I mean, once upon a time, between all the business I was running, I had over 300 people under my belt. I would love to grow a small team where we're all getting leads consistently. So as far as budget, I hate to say this, but you should factor that in if you're going to be a new broker, or if you're just starting. You need to look at it over time, not over a month, because you can't. These deals don't happen that quickly. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they can happen within a 30-day span, but on average, it's 90 to 180 days, give or take. I mean, maybe
depends. 2, 3, 4 months.
2, 3, right? And I would say, if you're going to do it right, and at least spend about $1,500 minimum per $1,000 to $1,500.
That's great. Yeah, Joe, spot on. If you're going to do it right. And even in our, when we start working with individuals who come to us who go, hey, tell me about franchise consulting, let's talk about it. That's a big part of the conversation, is making sure that they are in a situation, both time availability and financial capability, to be able to do this the right way. Because if you're going to do it right, this is what it's going to take. And so we have those conversations, and we've told several people, it's like, hey, you're not there yet. And this is, we're not about to, step into a relationship with you where we are just, you feel like we're the cause of you draining resources and exasperating yourself and putting yourself in a place that is not safe and not right. That would be a lack of integrity. And so if you're going to do it the right way. And
it's not just money though, right, Jeremy? You got to be ready. You got to be ready for it, because whatever marketing platform you are doing, you are going to get some leads. Yeah. You got to get ready for that, and you got to handle them. Yeah. You got to be prepared to handle them properly. Or absolutely. The cracks.
Yeah. Joe, this has been so good. Genuinely, I can't thank you enough for joining me today on the Brokerhood and sharing some of your story, talking about some of your success, and really what you're doing now, your practices, your key insights and wisdom about being a franchise broker. And there's just been so much to glean from this conversation, to learn from your experience. And so genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, can't thank you enough, my man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. And I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy talking to all my, candidates. I mean, it really is a passion, so when you do something from the heart and you feel good about it, it'll all come natural, and I enjoy having conversations with, my candidates, feeling out their situation, getting to know them and understanding their pain points, not just trying to make a sale, but truly trying to help their situation. When you get to that point, you will kill it in this business, because there's so much opportunity. Yeah.
It's about people first over profit.
100%.
Profit, 100%. The profit will come first, but people first. It's about there are people with souls and with lives, care about them. They have families, they have kids, they have grandkids. It's about them first. Profit comes when you take care of the people first.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
so good. Joe, I appreciate you, man. Really can't thank you enough. Everyone, if you're watching this right now and you are interested in learning more about franchise brokering and or the Business Alliance Incorporated network and how we might be able to help set you up for success with our training, with our coaching, with our tools and resources, with the brands we work with, click on the link in the chat now, and we can get a conversation going. And that'll just take you to a place to explore this a little further, and you can begin kind of performing your own due diligence. While they're doing that, Joe, lastly, once again, thanks, man. I can't wait to see you again at next year's conference. It's going to be a good one.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So, all right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.
Take care.
Because at the end of the day, Business Alliance, it's not about us. This has nothing to do with Brandon Clifford, the CEO, or Gina Johnson, our president. What we really are is we're just a platform. We're here to allow brokers, brands, and suppliers to connect with one another, to elevate their business, to really encourage people to bet on themselves and become a business owner through the business model of franchising.